In a world full of movie podcasts, here is one more. Welcome to Defend Your Movie with Sean Donnelly.
The time has come again. The champion must stand. It can only be one of us. Victoria! So stand up and fight, my friend. There's a title you must defend. Shut it on and on. Bring it to me. Defend your movie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to Watch Movies the Right Way, a podcast about how to watch movies the right way. I'm your host, Pat Stango.
And I'm your fourth host, Clayton Gumbert. You know what that means.
Nickname TBD, full power.
Erin Rose Chan, our third host, is here, and you know what that means. We've got a special guest host.
Sean Donnelly, a.k.a. Little Shawnee Boy.
Little Shorty
Yeah, he's
Boy's
got a
here.
nickname. Hey, everybody's got a nickname. Except for me, TBD.
That is your nickname. Get used to it.
I'm impressed that we figured out the correct pattern on that, because I definitely was getting confused. I didn't know when Sean was going to... Yeah, but Sean jumped in at the right time.
You told me right after you said that, right?
He's
Yeah.
a
Or after
professional.
that, Aaron, then me.
Yeah.
Sean's a professional.
I am a professional broadcaster.
Yeah.
Yes.
course,
You've been
Sean.
on Raw Dog. This guy's been on fucking Raw Dog.
I'm Raw Dog, and I've been on Raw Dog.
Oh, Red Pill Radio. Here we go.
Where's my Oakleys?
Well, of course, Sean, you've been broadcasting as the host of Defend Your Movie, our arch rival.
The arch, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm across enemy lines right now coming on this podcast.
And you feel it. You feel the hostility in the room.
I do. I can feel it.
It's very
Everybody's
tense.
shoulders are up, and they're like cats, like with their hair.
We're all clutching
on
our
edge.
switch
Our
blades.
hackles are up, yeah.
But it's a shame that your co-host Farrah Brooke can't be here today.
Farrah Brooke this is how much the rivalry must not be up to date. Farrah Brooke is not my co-host anymore.
Whoa!
What?
Yes.
So you replaced her with another woman, right? Or a person of color, correct?
Yes, I replaced her with yes, an Eskimo person actually.
Oh, that is great.
Another white male.
Thank goodness.
You know what?
Thank
This
goodness.
is what I
and
thought.
they
This is what I
prefer
thought.
to be called Inuit.
Anyway, Jesus. This is what I thought. I thought when
abuse starts now.
When it comes to Defend Your Movie, there was just too much diversity. That's what I said to myself.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I had to get rid of Farrah and get my friend Andy Fiore to host the show with me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think there's just too much, I don't need different. We just did the same
Yeah,
thing.
we don't want diverse voices.
No,
So,
this sounds way too serious. We're really happy is Farrah had to quit the show because of scheduling reasons. And I took on my buddy Andy because he knows a lot about movies and it's a lot of fun.
So he won a contest or something? Because is he
did,
new
yeah.
to the city?
What?
Is he new to the city or is he?
No, he's been here for a while.
Oh, okay. Oh.
It's weird that Clayton doesn't know him if he has been living in New York City for a while. Clayton knows everybody in New
You
York
know
City.
everybody in the city?
I'm a man about town. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know Colin Kane?
You mean my comedy hero, Colin
yeah.
Kane? Yes, I do.
Leave it
Yeah.
Oh, it's staying in.
Oh, leave it in. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So two white guys talking about movies. Fans of our show, you got to check that out.
Oh, that's kind of our
Yeah,
demo.
two white guys talking about movies.
I mean, it's one less white guy than usual talking about movies, but you'll get used to it.
I know it's hard for us to talk shit when our show is three white guys talking about movies.
With a TBD and for
TBD,
fun.
Yeah.
Token TBD.
No.
you should have your own side podcast talking TBD.
Yeah, that's what I need. It's about time I went solo. Like Bohemian Rhapsody, it really worked out for Freddie. I feel like
It did for a couple years.
I want all those leather daddies at my house.
Have you seen Bohemian Rhapsody yet, Sean?
I haven't, only because I heard shitty things about it.
It's great.
Oh, you gotta go.
No,
It's
great.
great.
Do you
you
guys
like-
see it in
I'm
the
starting to
theater?
think Pat likes every movie.
No, do you like Queen? Do you like the music
Remember,
of Queen?
I had you guys on my podcast, and Pat seriously defended Gotti, remember? But he was trolling everybody, and then you got in on it. Remember
Hey,
that?
forget about
No,
it.
I convinced him that it was great, and he realized I
That's
was right.
not what happened.
Yeah.
No.
That's how Pat
What happened
remembers
was
it.
he realized Pat was playing a fun character, and then you jumped in.
No, it's
What my fun character then bring to SNL? Guy who likes Gotti.
You don't really believe that.
I can see you on Update.
Yeah, I can do it up. I can do 4 minutes of liking
guy
Gotti.
who likes Gotti.
So now you say you liked, but I heard Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't that good. I heard like the music parts were great.
It's a jukebox musical with the music of Queen. So if you like that, if you're not going in, that's basically how I saw it. Like if you're not going in expecting it to be this epic story, you know, you go in expecting it to be fun.
I would go see it for that, but I think people were kind of expecting, like, there's a story, like a real story there. Why wouldn't
it doesn't necessarily do justice to the story, but it's fun to hear the songs that we love.
So I can just put Queen on Spotify and kind of get the full same effect.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be sitting
and
in
then
a
put on
chair
Mr.
in the
Robot.
movie theater. Yeah.
Put on Mr. Robot and listen to Queen.
Sync it up like Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz.
I'm going to check it out just based off your rec.
You know, I do like that, though. This is a way of, like, making your own movies without having to go to the movies. Is you could just sync up things with music, and then I guess that's how movies are made.
Consume other media.
Yeah.
What would you sync up?
Yeah.
Oh, if you sync up Limp Bizkit's second album and the movie Swordfish, it syncs. Definitely do it. And by sync, I mean SINK. Because you're listening to shit and watching shit.
Yeah. You just get up and leave the room.
Yeah, exactly.
If you do that, you will have no friends. That's basically what happens.
Well, actually, what you'll find yourself doing is actually tying a noose without realizing it. That's what happens.
Your hands just act independent of your body. And
absolutely.
It's self-preservation. It's just protecting yourself.
Yes.
It's fight or flight.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We got to get down to business because we all saw a movie together in the middle of the day, which was really nice. Seeing a 1 p.m. movie.
It's great.
On a weekday is really refreshing.
Yeah,
boy. Wait, so we all saw Creed 2. So before we get into Creed 2, Sean,
you put up his hand to high five.
Well, no, because I need a space after you say Creed 2. So just say we saw Creed 2.
Okay, we'll get to the trailer in a second.
Oh boy,
what?
But you watched Creed 1 yesterday, right?
I did, yeah.
So were you doing that to get to remember things for this movie?
No, I never saw Creed 1.
Oh!
I know.
The jaws hit the floor.
People are freaking out.
People are unsubscribing from your podcast right now.
I know it's bad. I was dying to see it, and I just never got around to it. And then I watched it last night.
Instead?
I was knitting, and I was tandem bicycle riding, and all sorts of outdoor activities.
See, we're indoor kids, so.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's bad. But I did see it. I made it down to the wire.
You texted me during the day yesterday. It's like, watching Creed 1, this is awesome. And I was like, oh, that's great. He's like reliving it and still enjoying it the second time.
No, I watched it for the first time.
Wow.
But I heard how good it was when it came out. Everybody told me how great it was, and I was like, oh, I gotta check it out. And I don't know why I never watched it.
Yeah.
I have no idea why.
Yeah. Life gets in the way. So we gonna play that trailer, Pat?
Okay, so we all saw Creed 2.
Victor Drago, son of Ivan Drago, who infamously killed Apollo Creed, appeared today to issue a challenge to Adonis Creed.
Don't do this.
I ain't got a choice.
That's the same thing your father said, and he died right here in my hands. That kid was raised in hate. It's dangerous. He broke things in me that ain't never been fixed.
So wait, and we established that Sean only saw Creed 1 yesterday, but you, Clayton and Aaron, you guys have both seen Creed.
I saw it in the theater.
I saw it in the theater.
The way it was meant to be seen.
Theater, yeah. But
you guys are better than me. What can I tell you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
It's not that we're better than you. It's that our podcast about movies is better than your podcast about movies. That's all we're trying to prove.
This
here
is
today.
Defend Your Podcast.
All right, so we all saw Creed 2. I mean, let's go. Guess first. Did you love this movie? Oh, he's thinking
about it. I appreciate that he's giving it some thought.
Yes.
Loves it.
He loves it. Well, Sean loves it.
I did love it. I did love it. I don't think I can not like. I loved the first one, loved it, and I love this one. I thought it was great. I thought that being the age that I am, I can't not love these movies if they're done quasi correctly. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. It's impossible to have something in this universe and not think back to your childhood and watch these and be nostalgic while also watching a quality movie.
Right.
I think. I'm talking too much, but yes, I loved it. Sorry. Well, you just asked me if I loved it. And
so,
I went
of course, Creed, when you talk about it's in the Rocky verse, it's in the Rocky universe. Creed was
the RCU.
The RCU, yeah, the Rocky Connected Universe. Of course, Creed is the son of Apollo Creed, who was Rocky's big rival and then best friend in the original Rocky series. So you say how you've got to love these movies, but of course the Rocky universe has had some terrible movies.
Absolutely, but I'll make a bold statement right now. This movie raises the average of 4. 4 is not technically a good movie. It's a fun, bad movie to watch, but now putting it into this world makes it a better movie.
It elevates the source material.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Aaron Rose Chan, TBD. Are you a big Rocky person, or could you not really give a shit about it?
I fall in between. I like the first one, and I have fond memories of the cheesy goodness of the fourth one. I don't think I saw the most recent one, the Milo one. I did not see Milo Ventimiglia. 6. I did not see.
Yeah.
Rocky Balboa, right?
Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rocky Balboa.
I didn't see Balboa, but Creed and Creed 2, I loved. I loved.
She loves Creed 2.
I love Creed 2 too. Also as well.
Creed TOO.
Yeah.
Now, Clayton.
Look who's Creed 2 now.
Clayton, are you Creed as well?
Oh, I love it.
You love it.
I love the first one. I think the first one is such a spectacular movie, and it did add such a great element to the franchise that was missing. Like, it brought it back up to respectability.
Absolutely.
Which I think is great. And I did love this movie, but I will say that there were touches of corniness and cheesiness to this movie that I feel like if they continue with these, which I don't know if they will, it could get bad.
But to be honest, Rocky Balboa, I was telling Aaron before, like when we were at the theater, when we first got there, Rocky Balboa it's not that bad.
Oh, it's a pretty good movie.
It's a pretty good movie.
It's no Rocky 5.
It's no Rocky 5, exactly.
But it wasn't at the level of respectability that Creed got to.
Absolutely.
People were more, I'm so surprised that Rocky 6, Rocky Balboa wasn't awful. Creed was expected, I guess people maybe expected it not to be great, but when you looked at Ryan Coogler directing it and then Michael B. Jordan being in it, it was very hard to not say, oh, this could be spectacular. And it was.
Right, and it was.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a great origin story, like a great origin story.
Oh, yeah.
And a cool take on it. And you're right. There was less cheesiness than the second one. There was.
Yeah, I mean,
Big Daddy.
We didn't even hear you weigh
we
in.
didn't ask you.
What does Big Daddy think?
I'm Big Daddy on the show.
I just figured that out. Yeah.
It's gross and we all hate it.
I love how it feels on my tongue.
It makes it so much worse.
From Little Shawnee to Big Daddy, and Big Daddy saith. I also talk in the third person. We're going to go with that
At all times.
Love it.
I like this movie a lot. It is a pretty big drop off from Creed. You know what this feels like? Creed 2 feels like a Rocky movie where Creed 1 felt like this really cool, different thing.
Like a different kind of boxing movie.
Yeah.
Not necessarily part of the extended RCU.
Right. Like even Rocky in that first movie, I mean, he was obviously Rocky and Stallone knows how to play that guy, but he got a lot more to do in the first one. He felt like he was dealing with things that felt different than the rest of the Rocky movies, whereas Creed 2, this felt like a really fun, super enjoyable Rocky sequel. You know, it's like they brought in, it's hard for it to not be a little bit cheesy when they go for the plot of Creed is fighting the son of Ivan Drago who killed his father. Like once you decide to do that, the movie's gonna be
a little bit cheesy.
Yeah.
But I think they dip back on use of Stallone on purpose.
Yeah, you know, it is. Let's talk about that.
They kind of peppered him in the perfect amounts.
It is interesting. Stallone is in this so much less than I was expecting, and I don't dislike that because I think it is important for them if they're going to keep doing these movies. It's got to be about Creed and not about
story.
Rocky.
Yeah, it's Creed's story, not Rocky's. And I think that they did. I think that it was artful how it was done, just because the whole kind of theme of the film is, what are you fighting for? Are you fighting for yourself, or are you trying to prove something to other people? And so Rocky really represented like the heart, punching cuts his meat in a warehouse, that kind of like heart to it. Whereas, and so over the course of the film, Creed gets away from that heart and that real motivation of fighting for himself and then comes back to it, and then Rocky is back with him. So it's also really went with the arc of his growth over the course of the movie to have Rocky be there for him in the beginning and be there for him in the end.
Right.
So I think it served a narrative purpose as well as, giving the character time to stand on his own.
I think if there's a Creed 3, I think the most you're getting out of Stallone is a cameo.
Honestly,
I think that's what that meant. There's a scene in this that I don't want to do spoilers.
We spoil.
Spoil?
Yeah.
All right, so spoilers ahead in 2, 1. There's a scene in this.
Welcome to the spoiler zone.
There's a scene where at the end when he's like, "It's your time now," and he just sits on the chair and kind of watches the whole.
Puts on his pork pie hat.
Sits down, and you see it from behind
he tilts
him.
it a little bit.
That's how it looks on the poster.
He's wearing the Creed jacket, like the memorabilia available now on the website.
He's got merch.
Amazon.com, 1995.
Send me a Creed anything, please.
A Calnet cardigan like Rocky had.
Yeah. Oh, please do.
But I think what that was saying, like, I guess that was the implication, right?
Creed 3, is that where they kill off? I don't think Rocky's death is going to be off screen. If Rocky,
You're right.
if they're
No,
killing
no,
Rocky
no way.
Unless Stallone explodes from HGH use in real life, which is very possible.
Or if any of these Me Too's things stick on him.
Yeah, he's dodged a lot more than just jabs and right hooks.
I mean,
Stallone.
if you read Janice Dickinson's autobiography or her memoir, she talks a little bit about Stallone in the 70s. It was pretty fun.
The 70s is, not that long ago.
Yeah.
But so let's imagine Stallone doesn't blow up and doesn't get Me Too'd out of existence. I don't think you kill Rocky off screen. So
That's true.
I think there is a good chance if they make a Creed 3, Rocky's death is the hook or like the side plot hook for him.
I think just the rumor of that can make it be as big as these other ones. So
Yeah.
that's a great way to keep kind of street cred with a third sequel of a movie.
Right.
But is Michael B. Jordan too big for these movies now? When I was watching this movie, Creed was part of his coming out party as a star.
That's the biggest movie he's had. Well, other than Black
Panther. So I feel,
But he wasn't the star of Black Panther.
Well, ostensibly he wasn't, but he was absolutely the standout, I think, in that movie.
I think it's because he's great. I think he's a standout in this.
It's
because
always
he's so
more
good.
fun to play the villain.
Absolutely.
You get so much more.
Oh, sure. But I'm saying as far as billing goes and business wise.
Sure.
And,
But he's going to be John Clark in the new. It's like a character from the Jack Ryan universe that he is now going to be the star of these movies, or at least that's like what they're in production on now.
Okay.
So he is going to be in like this action franchise. So he is, his star has risen.
Yeah.
But I also think these movies are just really good movies. They're not cheesy boxing movies like half of the Rockies were. And so I think that
he's not slumming it doing it.
Yeah, I think that there is, it's a good role, and this movie I thought was really beautifully done.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed everything about it, and I think, he's not lowering his standards by being in.
No, it was still
movies.
really good, and it's going to be a big hit. Like, this is his signature franchise.
Yeah, I do feel like like his character in the movie, he is filling somebody else's shoes right now. So he's still kind of in the shadow of Stallone and, Apollo Creed and stuff, that I feel like he's a bigger star than to be in. And they're not retreads. It's just, there's something about it, I guess the cheesy history of the franchise. It's a spin-off, and I do feel like he needs to elevate himself out of those before he becomes he does Jack Ryan spin-offs, and he does Marvel movies, and he just does. That's my thought.
I think right now is probably not the time to worry about Michael B. Jordan's career.
No.
I think he's okay. I think his manager
he's a
has
huge
it under
star,
control.
But what I'm saying, for me, what I want to see him in is something that is unique and shows off.
More of like a Fruitvale Station, more of like him doing these kind of meaty, dramatic roles that
everyone's
are
like, no, I want him to play Ernest.
not,
an Ernest
not
Scared
part of a
Stupid
franchise.
reboot. No, that's the thing. I don't want him in a franchise.
Yeah.
I want to see him in something original, and I want to see something where he can, flex his acting muscles along with his.
To be honest, he does it. He does it in these. Like he does. Like,
but
I know what you mean. The level of it is, it's very easy to outshine the other actors in this franchise.
What was happening with me with this is that I liked this movie. I loved it. I was in on it the whole time. But one of the issues I have with it is the issues I have with the Marvel movies. Is that a lot of the reactions that they were aiming for in this was recognition. It's like when a stand-up goes to, and you would know this because Shauna is a stand-up, and you're on the road sometimes, right? You go to different cities, and say, you see comics who say, I was over at, if you're in Pennsylvania, say, Ross Park Mall. Woo! I recognize that. That's the mall I go to, right? It's cheap. That's a cheap way to get. And do you do that? Because I don't want to.
I don't do that.
See, he doesn't do that because he's a good comic.
He's above it.
I've actually, I'm being honest, I've never done it.
Good.
He's
Never
a higher functioning individual.
He's a higher functioning individual. But that's what it felt like when Bridget Nielsen comes out. It's kind of like, oh, look, there's that character, Howard the Duck.
I'll tell you why that's not true. I'll tell you why that's not true. I'll give it to you.
They used it so well.
I'll tell you this much: they really peppered it. They peppered all the nostalgia in. The Bridget Nielsen thing. The reason why it didn't happen the way you're saying is because she has 2 lines in the whole movie, and whenever somebody ages, I think it adds a little bit of legitimacy to the whole thing. So like her being in it, it's not, hey, let's goof on Bridget Nielsen from the 80s anymore. Now it's like, oh, she's just like an older woman, and like you remember the character, and they did it where she's not saying much. So they kind of classed up the effect of the cameo of what you're talking about.
But I think that because this is essentially a sequel to Rocky IV, right? In a way. And so I think they used...
It's like the Boyhood of Rocky IV.
We've watched them grow up. We watched Bridget Nielsen grow up.
Right before our eyes.
We have all of... Most, I think... A lot of people going into this movie, or at least people in our cohort, our generation, the Xennials.
Yeah.
We are...
Please don't ever say that again.
We're the Rocky generation.
We're the Rocky generation.
Yeah.
And so we are coming into it with Rocky IV in our minds. There's no getting rid of it. It's such an iconic movie from that time. And so we are going into it. Creed 2 has this built-in foundation of emotional resonance for a lot of people because we know Ivan Drago and we know this beef. We know he killed Apollo Creed and we were affected by that. He is a villain to us. And so having him come back, they didn't have to work as hard to make these guys villains because we see Drago, we kind of have that. And I think that this movie built up these guys as villains and then made this turn where they gave us some real sympathy for Victor Drago.
Absolutely. They made them human.
They made them human, and they talking about the theme of, are you fighting for yourself or are you fighting for other people? And Creed was fighting for himself and Drago was fighting for other people. He was fighting to vindicate his father. He was fighting for the love of his parents. And because they did that, when they showed Victor Drago, like, talking to his dad and his dad saying, like, you have to do this to get us back in good graces of the
your mom back,
oligarchs,
to get my wife
to
back.
Get your mom back, to get
out of Ukraine. Like, oh my God.
Get us into Russia. But it was like, hey, Victor was fighting to win the love of his father. And so when you're watching it, I saw that scene and was very moved and was like, well, I don't want Victor to lose now. I feel so bad. I don't want Creed to lose.
That was the goal, I think.
And so by having Victor Drago win his father's love by losing the fight, it was such a beautiful spoiler zone. It was such a beautifully done arc for him because you're rooting for Victor to win the love of his father, and you have it in your mind just like he does, that the only way to win the love of your father is to win. And so to have Ivan call the fight is
perfect way to do it.
The perfect way to do it, where it is a happy ending for Victor, that now he's training side by side with his dad instead of his dad trying to run him over in a van.
I think that, so Dolph Lundgren, of course, is back in this movie playing the father, Ivan Drago. I think he had a much better plot and part than Stallone as Rocky did.
Absolutely.
Well, because he had an arc. I think because he had this huge epiphany at the end that the love that he has for his son means more to him. His son means more to him than winning.
Yeah.
And that was not the case for most of the film. He didn't have that realization. And Rocky just stays a good, stable guy. Like, Rocky's priorities are never in question.
And just you talking about that now kind of makes the case of why it's okay for Michael B. Jordan to do these movies, because the level of the writing and the drama in these movies and like the quality of them, they're not him slumming it or, you know, stepping down.
Yeah.
They're him. Like, that's a really, think about how many dramas fuck that kind of stuff up. You know what I mean?
So it's decided. Michael B. Jordan's allowed to make another Creed movie.
You know what I mean by that. You know what I mean?
I think she was giving me shit. She was giving me shit. Well, we got to talk about that face-off of acting titans that happens in Stallone's Rocky's restaurant.
As you leaned in, so there's a
it's
scene
the Rocky
where
version of the Heat conversation.
That's what I said.
I'm sorry.
But I think the acting in that scene was like if Pacino and De Niro met now in a movie, and then 50 Cent was the co-star. The level of acting there I thought was really bad.
I think Dolph Lundgren is a much better actor today in 2018 than De Niro or Pacino are today.
Okay, I will say he has lapped them, but there was a point where they were better. But it is funny, though, in that scene where it's the restaurant's closed.
Yeah.
There's still
I hope the restaurant's closed because it is empty.
It was empty. Did you see it has a D grade on the on the window? No.
I was like, oh my God.
The grade was pending. It was pending. But so his
I really believe that.
Could you imagine being the health inspector that shuts down Rocky's restaurant in Philadelphia?
Oh, it never happens.
People in Philly just murder you.
I mean, they murder you when they're happy, so you gotta be careful.
So Stallone walks in, and the woman who's greeting is like, "There's a guy here
Isabella.
who's waiting for you." You knew that was her name? That's so funny.
Isabella, what is it?
So she's like, he's been waiting. He says, "You know who he is." So she just, after hours, lets this hulking, beat to shit old Eastern European guy come,
In sweats.
sit with his back to her, and wait for her boss.
Yeah.
I would have liked to seen that scene. That scene shouldn't have been cut out.
He was still finishing his coffee.
You remind me of the kids that sat in front of us, like the 12-year-olds, that literally when Michael B. Jordan is FaceTiming his wife and baby from the desert, they go, how's he get service?
See, those are good kids. Those are good kids.
How's he getting the service?
Well, speaking of
what's the movie, kids?
Speaking of those
I'll
kids,
punch you too.
What is the resonance of this movie to them? If they didn't grow up with these movies, unless they grew up with them on cable, if you're a 15-year-old now, is this a good movie by itself? Because the themes, is it the themes that went out? Or is it knowing the characters that are more important?
I think that obviously, if you are a fan of the series, all of this is going to be more resonant. You're going to enjoy it more. You're going to feel it more. But I think they do a really good job in this movie of, if you, for some reason, came into this completely cold, you've never heard of Rocky,
Even if you've never seen the first Creed.
Yeah, I think you would get it. They set up, they show you the clips. This guy's dad killed this guy's dad.
They had to do a narrative for it, because most of the people that are seeing this were either toddlers or they were they weren't born yet.
Yeah.
85. Think about that. That's how long ago? 30? No,
I wasn't born.
Years ago.
33
years ago. I was 7 years old.
I was born in 1989.
For acting purposes, Clayton is forever
Clayton's IMDb
29.
says 1989.
And I'm not winking. That's my Tourette's.
No, obviously, if you're a fan of the series, I think you're going to be way more into it. But I think they do a good job of having these stand alone. And again, the Ivan Drago family stuff is so much better in this movie than it was in the original Rocky, where Dolph Lundgren was just playing like a robot supervillain.
Yeah, it was like we've
got
genetically engineered you to beat Rocky. It was basically.
Yeah, he was just supposed to be a representation of the USSR, and it was much simpler made movie. That's what I mean. Right. This is high drama with 3 different plot lines and a really good father-son, unrequited love story, and the Rocky IV was like just a straight up popcorn we're just going to watch Rocky. Because after a while, I don't know if you're, after Rocky 1, they all just became like, they became the trope punchline of like, hey, a bad fun movie to watch.
Yeah,
Kind of reminds me of Rambo, where like the first Rambo is about this man who comes home from war and is
it's like actually a good movie.
Is hunted, and meanwhile, then all the other Rambo movies are just like, we're gonna blow some shit up in the jungle, and it's just the Rocky movies were similar. It was like a dramatic movie.
That's Stallone's MO.
And then all the sequels were like, I don't know, have him like chasing chickens.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, remember the first Specialist? The Specialist one was like a really serious drama with him and Sharon Stone, and then the sequels have been terrible.
Yeah. We're both going for the same joke.
Yeah. I just plowed through it.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I was like, I will get this bad joke in, and you will not. I will crush you.
I must break you.
Well, there was even a deal with it. Wasn't there a deal with the last Rambo where they were like, he wanted to make another Rocky, and they were like, well, you have to make another Rambo if you do it. The last Rambo was like comically bad.
Yeah,
do you remember it?
Bad. We saw it together.
There's so many great, unbelievable, violent things in there that you would not take because you're laughing out loud in the theater and people aren't caring because
that was John Rambo.
That was John Rambo.
Or
was it just called Rambo?
Just called Rambo.
Because there was never a movie called Rambo. Because
the Rambo First Blood.
First Blood was the one. Yeah.
It was pornographically violent.
Yeah.
And it's funny that movie came out when I kind of first moved to the city, or at least a year or two in. And I remember that movie came out, and there's this bad part of town I used to walk through. Not bad part of town, but I always felt like it was a bad part of town because they had a Rambo movie poster up on on one of the subway stops.
Be careful, a bunch of Rambos out here.
For like 2 years. So they're not changed. Nobody's feels
coming
safe
out here.
enough to come and change these posters.
Oh, you're probably right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So let's see. So we talked about Dolph. Yeah. Anything else on Dolph Lundgren? I thought he was great. And I think, Clayton, this is an example of like why I don't feel these are just like little nostalgia pops, because Brigitte Nielsen was used really well in this. Like her character was
a mother's love, and she was married to this like oligarch who also was like kind of presenting a gift as like kind of on behalf of representing like Russian society, because Ivan Drago was kind of booted from Russian society and had to move to Ukraine. But he was like ousted from the Muckety Mucks. And so that was like representative of like the Muckety Mucks will take you back if you win. You're going to have this like high society life. And his mom was just like married to the guy. So it was like a double whammy. And 2 punch.
Shorts are very important in these films.
I was going to say that.
It's always
those shorts represent losing sight of yourself. Like that's basically what it is.
Yeah, because you can't see yourself. You're wearing shorts.
No, because Creed, when he wore his, he was too full of himself. And then sure enough, when he got the shorts, he knew what was up, the Russian.
Yeah, Drago got some shorts.
And nice shorts.
Getting bestowed with shorts is a huge deal.
But can I just say also he had a matching robe. He had a matching robe.
So yes. Russia, when they are in the high society scene where they're at this Russian dinner getting the shorts, the oligarchs are there, even at the highest levels, everything about Russia looks miserable.
Oh, still depressing.
Yeah.
Like they had gotten to the top, the oligarchs are there, Putin's giving them gifts, and it still looks like the worst thing I could imagine living through would be
and
rich
Dolph
in
is like,
Russia.
Great, right? Yeah.
This is everything I've ever wanted.
In the 80s, this would be a blast. Also, let's thank this movie for not having Creed train in Russia.
Yes.
And literally did the same thing.
It was a Song of Ice and Fire where they had Victor training in Philly and they had Creed in the desert.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And they do that thing where they know this is a nostalgia movie. And they get to that point when Adonis Creed has to get himself back together. He has to train for the big fight. And you think he's going to go back to Philly and train in Philly like they do in all the movies. And they know we're waiting for that. But then they know the other thing we're waiting for is like, no, he's not going to go to Philly. He's going to go to Russia. And they play on that expectation because they know everyone in the theater who's seen any of these movies think that's what he's going to do. So it is, again, a great use of nostalgia because they're subverting it, or they're at least
Like turning on its head a little.
Turning it on its head, yeah.
Because
if this was a bad Rocky sequel, he would have went to Russia. They would have done the most obvious thing.
Yes,
I
and there's
love
still
this
movies
movie.
that are made like
Yeah,
that.
we're acting like Clayton hated this movie. He loved it.
The only thing I'm saying is that
He was like,
conflict.
it's a little cheesy. We're like, damn it, Clayton.
Sit there and let us punch you.
You need the pain. You love the pain. You're dangerous.
I am into
That's
that.
that's a great callback too. The I'm dangerous thing.
I am into that. But I will say, so the thing that bothers me, and it's more of a cultural thing that I get wary of, I think this was done really well, even without the nostalgia. You could watch this movie and it's a good movie because the themes are good and universal. I just worry about nostalgia becoming the driving force behind everything we consume.
Well, let me ask you this, Clayton. Do you remember Trapper Keepers?
Oh, I love the Trapper Keeper. Oh, you see, you did it. God damn it.
But to be honest, it's already happened. So now all you can hope for is the best version of the nostalgia.
Right.
But see,
Like
I
they're
hate
bringing back
that.
Northern
That's
Exposure, the TV show.
That's
I
we don't
think
talk about
people-
TV.
Oh
We
well,
talk about
sorry.
So that's
I'm just
the
saying
problem.
nostalgia-wise.
Sean, what you're saying is like when parents say, well, my kids are going to drink somewhere, so they might as well drink
be
at
in
my
the
house.
So I can keep an eye on them.
No,
I'm
don't.
the fun mom.
I'm friends with my kids. No. I don't agree with that, and I don't agree with that. We have to put up with
Clayton
what we're
wants the
given.
war against drugs. He loved that, and he wants the war against nostalgia.
And war
Just
against
say
kids.
no to nostalgia.
In a way, I want. That's why I guess when I said Michael B. Jordan, I want to see him do something original, is because I want to see our new stars, because we're having a hard time creating new movie stars. We need them to do original movies that draw audiences out so that there is that middle ground where people can go see a movie that isn't a franchise, isn't a superhero movie, isn't something we already know. We're surprising ourselves
Well, you
again.
need a whole new property. So you're talking about like Creed's Too Far Gone, just because it's attached to that.
No. I'm just saying I like that this movie exists because I do think it was really fun. I don't want to see Michael B. Jordan in Creed 5. I don't want to see that, and I don't think that's going to happen. I want to see him
but
in
if
something
Creed-
original.
But if Creed could, okay, at this point, we've talked about how Stallone is being phased out. Could Creed become that new property for him? Obviously, it started
He's
as
in
a
LA.
Rocky spinoff.
Yeah.
But like, but I think the third one is a big deal, because if the third one is Adonis Creed fighting Mr. T's son, then
I'm all in. I'm in for that.
there has
it'll be
already
great.
been a
It'll be
meeting
great.
where somebody's talked about that.
it would be
Oh,
great.
100%.
Yeah.
It was
because-
like that Key and Peele Gremlins 2 sketch, if you've ever seen it.
That's great.
Well, Gremlins 2, I mean, that's a great sketch, but that movie's great just
Sexy
because
Lady Gremlin.
they subvert. That was a big FU to a studio who said, we want a sequel from you. And he's like, well, Joe Dante said, I'll give you a fucking sequel. And
Eat
it was
this horse shit, you sons of bitches.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah, Gremlins 2 is nuts.
It's nuts, I know, but
they said, we want you to do a sequel. And he said, okay, well, I'm going to do whatever I want. And that's what he did. And it's a masterpiece.
I think that
It is. It truly is.
I think that what you're saying is that you want Michael B. Jordan to not be relegated to just kind of action movies.
Mm-hmm.
You want him to play purely dramatic parts. He will bring dramatic heart to any role that he
Yes.
has because he's a really talented actor. But you want to see
But
him
now he's a
in
movie
those
star.
like.
Yeah.
But he is a movie star also.
And
But we don't want
somebody-
him to do like a Chris Pratt thing where he's in
Yes.
5 different
Thank
franchises
you.
and he's really fun to watch and he's super charismatic on screen. But every movie he's in is either a dinosaur movie or a superhero
What's the
movie.
new shit franchise that he's going to reboot?
Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
but
there's-
he's a better actor. Chris Pratt's not a good actor. Michael B. Jordan's a better actor.
He's fun to
but
watch,
like
though.
Fruitvale Station doesn't pay the mortgage.
right.
You know,
get it.
Creed
What do you,
4.
bigger than
give an
Fruitvale-
example, Clayton, because I want to see what you mean by like where would he go next? What would the next? Because sometimes they do that where they switch it up and they're like, I'm going to go for an art house picture after.
Well, Clayton's got a script for him.
Well, it's like you've got Denzel.
Gremlins 3,
Denzel
yeah.
can do Fences and he can do Equalizer, and he can
Yes.
do both those things. And I think that that's possible for an actor of that caliber. You can do the more serious, dramatic, grounded stuff, and you can also do a fun action franchise, and you can have those both going on at the same time.
That's what I want.
Right
yes.
now, Michael B. Jordan is doing a lot of these big tentpole movies, and he's not doing the little kind of independent dramatic things, and that would make Clayton very happy.
And it's so funny because when I say I want something original, most of the movies I'm thinking about that got made that I was like, oh, it's cool that got made were based on books.
Yeah.
Which isn't
all movies.
Which is, it's based on something. It's really hard to get an original script made that's completely original. But when you look at a movie like Gone Girl, that was a really great movie. It seemed a little bit more of a throwback to those 90s movies where they were thrillers and you had big stars in them.
But a really good version of
And
that.
it was a really good version of, like
really
the
good
Pelican
director.
Brief or something. So,
Or like any Richard Gere movie from the 90s. You mean like that kind of stuff?
And that's what I'd like to see Michael B. Jordan be able to do.
I mean, I think you're really overthinking just that the two movies that he's most recently come out with were big hit action movies.
Well, when you said Chris Pratt, that's what scared me. And then Jennifer Lawrence has that same problem where anything original she's come out with, it still kind of muscles out to a good BO because she's a huge star. But now she's going to be in that another X-Men movie, and
She's fine.
I think she's fine. I think Michael B. Jordan's fine.
she's not fine. She's not fine.
She's
I
also
think-
doing like Mother and Red Sparrow, and she's doing these other different things.
But the BO keeps going down, 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 and soon we're not going to have. I just need movie stars in my life, and Tom Cruise is going to die filming a movie. That is a fact.
He has no thetans. He will never die. The reason he flies and does a barrel roll in a helicopter when he just learned to fly 4 months ago is because he knows he can't die.
I love Tom Cruise. I'm a Tom Cruise apologist. I don't want him to ever die, but I have to be realistic that there's a possibility that he could die while filming a movie. And that scene will still be in the movie according to his will.
Gotta leave it in.
But we need to have new movie stars. We have a dearth of movie stars. We need more.
And Michael B. Jordan's fine. He's fine.
He's great.
There's a lot of crusades out there in the world that
There are a lot of hills out there, Clayton.
Don't tell me what hill to
Jordan's
climb. And don't start making political references because I'll cut them all out. We don't do politics on this podcast. I don't know. What do you guys
And
do?
we don't do TV.
We don't do politics on the
Good.
podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a movie
That's the
podcast.
one thing I like about their
But
podcast. They don't do politics.
That's the one thing, we do one Seinfeld reference an episode.
That's great.
Well, you hate
No
it.
soup for you.
You don't talk.
No soup for you, man. There we go. We got it.
This isn't How to Watch Movies the Right Way Saves America.
Oh, God. See, I'm cutting that out, Sean. No, Seinfeld is kind of above culture. It's. I wouldn't say.
Does it have your permission, Clayton?
Well, it is our
You
podcast.
are allowed to continue to do that on your own podcast.
No, I'm doing it on my podcast.
Oh
not
no!
your podcast.
Of course, do it.
Well, okay, so your podcast, Sean, of course, is Defend Your Movie, where every episode you pit two movies against each other. So let's quickly, even though we probably all haven't seen Rocky IV in forever, is Creed 2 better than Rocky IV?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Come on, that's a no-brainer.
So that's it. So that's how long your episodes are?
Yes.
Just that.
We also touched kind of on why
And we did a Seinfeld reference. Your podcast lasts like 4 seconds.
It's a very short episode.
Micro podcasts are big right now.
You're micro influencer.
Microdosing podcast.
And if you do it like 4 times, like if you listen to it at 4 times speed, it's like half a second.
It's like iocane powder.
You gain time.
Yeah.
No, do you really want to go over why it's better?
Well, is there anyone who would make any kind of argument that Rocky IV is better?
I think if someone did, it would be playing primarily on nostalgia, because I think when you watch clean, you watch these two films, Creed 2 has so much more depth and heart to it, but there is so much cheesy 80s goodness to Rocky IV that I feel like that is why we have so much affection for it.
Which one's rewatchable? Which one would you watch if it was on cable tomorrow?
Listen, Rocky IV is a lot less work.
We do that on my show. We call it the flip test. Would you flip back to it and watch the whole thing?
Oh, that's a good one.
I would watch Rocky IV. I mean, it's
I watch
so
Rocky
easy.
IV. I watch it every time it's on.
But would you watch Creed 2?
Yes.
I would
would.
watch Creed 1 100%. That the flip test, it passes the flip test.
Yeah.
Creed 2,
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe
I
not.
think I would. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was so much fun, and I thought it was so beautifully shot. I thought the direction was really good. I loved the performances. I love Tessa Thompson.
I was going to say, can she be in every movie? She's
She should
another
be.
one.
She's so good.
She grounds everything she's in the way that she's so natural on screen. And I love that her style comes through. When you see a lot of actors and actresses in movies, you feel like they're being styled by somebody else. And I don't know if this is true, but it feels like she's very in on what her style is, and I love it.
It felt very authentic to her,
like she's wearing her own clothes.
Off screen. It felt that way. It felt that way.
And like she designs her own clothes too.
I'll tell you the one thing about that I could defend Rocky IV against this movie on but it's more of why we discuss why this movie's so great, because it's more multi-layered and more deep than Rocky IV. But you could say the more fun part is Rocky IV being more black and white. And the villain was so much more of a villain.
Like, literally was like a machine. Like, they just, like, plugged him in when he was training, and Rocky was chasing chickens in the backyard.
Yes, right, exactly.
Meat.
So when you're watching this, you're like, it's so multifaceted, and you're like, oh, I kind of want the Russian to win. But back in the day, you were like, yeah, get those Russians.
Right.
Okay, like, you didn't care. It was a simpler time, too. You could say that as well. Not to be, corny about it, but it's true. Like, nobody really thought.
We also were kids.
Yeah.
It was part of why it was simpler.
No, but there was adults going to see those movies like, those commies, let's get those commies.
Those adults are still around.
Yeah, true, yeah.
This is a great time for them. They are in their prime.
Oh, they're loving it.
Absolutely. No politics.
I'll cut it out.
No, but, there is something to that where the end of Rocky IV feels so satisfying because you have no qualms about being happy completely that the villain gets beat.
Yes, you want that to happen.
Right.
Yeah. It's not even like even Karate Kid back in the day when I was a kid watching it, and you watch Johnny at the end gives him the trophy. He's like, "You're all right, LaRusso." You're like,
right.
"Oh, now I feel a little bit bad for Johnny." But with Rocky IV, you were like, "No, just beat the bad guy, and then you win, and you're Rocky again. You avenged your friend and all that." Like, it was so much more clear cut. So in a way, it kind of just makes it easier for your brain. Emotionally
You can
wise,
shut off your brain and just passively take it in.
Yes.
Whereas Creed 2, you can't do that as easily because there is so much emotional work that's happening because the characters transform over the course of the movie. Whereas Rocky stays a good guy and Drago stays a bad guy through all of Rocky 4, and you just like eat popcorn and zone out.
Well, we have to talk about too, if we're pitting them against each other, better pre-fight song, James Brown, Living in America, or Tessa Thompson singing her original in Russia to all these people who did not boo. They started booing as soon as as Creed was announced, but they all were kind of into her weird R&B stuff.
I loved that they had her walking in ahead of him singing, because it felt like that was the whole thing with Creed, was that his corner was packed with all the people who love him and support him. And Drago, as the fight is going on, his corner gets more and more desolate as people get up and leave.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
And so I think having her for the first match being like, I don't want you to do it, and Rocky's not there, and having for the second match, not only is she supporting him, she is singing for it.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was cool.
I thought it was awesome.
James Brown wins.
I would rather she was singing Living in America.
But just because pageantry wise and just being a spectacle wise.
Yes.
And it was such a like USA, like that whole movie was like USA, USA.
And that was the point. They kind of did have a little bit of irony in that, because that's when he gets killed. That's the match he gets killed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that's the hubris part of that movie. Is she going to be like? That's what I'm wondering. Also, is she going to try to be an artist?
She got signed. The actual
not
actress.
Bianca. Not Bianca Creed.
She might already have I would not be surprised if she doesn't have music that we could download at some point.
Wait, are we talking about the actress Tessa Thompson is a musician in real life?
Is she? Was that her really singing? It sounded like it was her singing.
We should do some research on that, but I think that was her actually singing.
Maybe she'll sing on one of Janelle Monáe's albums.
Oh, do you like Janelle Monáe?
Well,
they're
Tessa Thompson
together.
likes Janelle Monáe.
So just an update, Tessa Thompson does sing. She did sing these songs.
She's so good.
And
she can do anything she wants.
And she actually performs in a hip-hop soul EDM duo called Caught a Ghost.
That's basically what that music was.
That's an amazing name.
If I had to put three types of music with the music,
I wonder,
that's what
that was probably who was performing, because she was performing with someone else who was doing the
keyboards,
the beats and the music and everything. So I'm guessing that was her.
Oh, just her band.
Partner.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Creed 3 should be about her music career.
Could it please just be all about Bianca?
And
Creed 3, Bianca.
And more of that adorable deaf baby, please.
Oh my goodness.
That moment
baby was
when
so cute.
they realized that
The baby was also hearing impaired at birth.
their acting is so subtle, and I don't know. I that really got me. I was tearing up.
Right. And if you think of like in the original
great
Rocky
acting,
movies.
right. What?
In the original Rocky movies, if they had given like Rocky that plot line, how differently that scene would have been, where he's like, "Oh no, yeah,
You can't hear nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
why even give her ears if she don't hear what I'm saying?" It's just, I don't know, God. Sometimes you give them things that you can't use.
I mean, I would say the right way to watch this movie is immediately, because I think you should see it in theaters, because it's really the film itself is so great that I think seeing it on the big screen really enhances it.
It's good that this movie's coming out around Thanksgiving, because
I'm thankful for it.
And it's all about family.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get away from your family, if you don't have a family, go to Creed,
see Creed 2.
and
They'll be your family.
Yeah, work out all your issues. When you're done, you're either crying or you're punching the hand dryer in the bathroom. That's what you need to do. Go see this movie and get all that shit out.
I would say my advice of how to watch it is do watch Rocky 4 first. I think maybe that's even more important than watching Creed 1 before you see Creed 2.
I'll also tell you, like, that's the thing about maybe not watching Rocky 4 is that they make the footage from Rocky 4 just look like straight up like
sporting footage, like TV
sports
footage,
which is kind of really
like
cool.
ESPN
in this
footage.
movie.
But still, Rocky 4 is just such hammy, cheesy fun that
You gotta watch it.
You gotta watch it.
All right, guys. So before we go, let's plug some other podcasts that people have. We'll start with our guest, Shawnee.
I have a podcast called Defend Your Movie.
So where could people listen to that? What channel is that on?
AKA two white guys and a couple of microphones. You can listen on iTunes. You can subscribe and
you're off of Raw Dog. It's not just on Raw Dog.
No, Raw Dog. No, Raw Dog. I have a radio show on Raw Dog called Celebrate, which I do with random people.
Very nice.
But
It's a veteran broadcaster.
I am. I'm like Edward R. Murrow. Wasn't he? I can't even say his name, but isn't he a veteran broadcaster?
Oh yeah, good night and good luck, right?
Yeah.
Have you broken through to NPR yet?
Because I'm on there as well. I have my own. Me and what's her name? The main NPR lady.
Oh,
have her own show.
Terry
Ira
Gross.
Glass. Nailed it.
Zinger.
Yeah.
Terry Gross.
Terry Gross, right? Yeah, we have our own show. It's called Fresh Air with Sean.
All right. So
Hey, can I open a door or something? Maybe a window?
Well, I'm on it, so it's called Don't Go In There. Do not
Go in there.
It's called Wait, Sean's in the bathroom.
Wait, don't smell me.
That would have been
Nailed
better.
it.
Yeah.
Wait, don't
You
tell
did
me
it.
was the better
Thank
one.
you,
Yeah.
guys.
That was good.
Yeah. Defend Your Movie. Clayton, what podcasts are you on besides this one?
So I also have another podcast called Learning the Tropes. It's a romance novel podcast that I host with Pat's Big Daddy's wife.
My wife.
Big Mama.
It is way more successful than this podcast. It's only going up and up and up. So we'll see how much longer I'm here. Sean, if you want to, I don't know, you can jump in here if you want to, once I leave for my more
I
successful
will, yeah.
podcast, because we'd love to have you.
Can I say what I asked Pat when I found out you were hosting that podcast? I go, Clayton reads romance novels? And Pat goes, he does now.
Ka-ching. Now,
That's what it actually says on all the subway posters advertising the podcast. Like Clayton and Aaron standing up with their backs against each other. It's like Clayton reads romance novels. It's like he does now.
No, I actually do. That I enjoy them. I'm a little bit addicted now, which is a little scary because I don't need another addiction in my life. But it's great. You can get that on iTunes, and of course, Pat.
It's also on Raw Dog.
It's going to be on Raw Dog right after Celebrate. And Pat produces it.
I do.
Producer Patty. So check that out. Follow our Instagram, all that fun stuff.
So Aaron Rose Chan, what other podcasts are you on?
I'm on the podcast of my dog's Instagram at the Bitey Thor. Also, if you haven't checked out the Instagram for this podcast, check out at How to Watch Movies Podcast. Lots of primo memes, bonus content. So everybody check that out. It's really fun.
Now, to be fair, the memes are the bonus content.
Well, it's not just memes. But it's some great memes. Some memes to remember. Some meaningful memes.
I cried at the last one.
Thank you so much. It was really a poignant but hopeful meme about life after love.
Yeah. I was not prepared for that meme.
All right, guys. So I think that's it. Oh, and of course, Clayton.
Hashtag pelt me with it. Merch. Send me merch.
Sean, do you ever get fans sending you merch or gifts to defend your movie?
No, somebody sent something once. I forget what they sent us. It's just a gift, but it was like chocolates. But
it had like a knife through it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like a paper mache thing of my head with a knife through it.
And it said, "You know what you did."
All right. Until next time,
we'll see you at the movies.